Let's get into it. It's France, Denmark, Tunisia, and Australia. As we mentioned in the intro, 3 of these 4 teams faced each other in the group stages in 2018. Tunisia, of course, being the new one. But there's a lot to discuss, and these teams look slightly different, obviously, from 2018. So straight away, okay, just, let's just think about just your initial thoughts over this group. Let's begin with you, Michael. Initial thoughts on this.
Well, they call it Group D because there will be drama in this group, and it starts with one of the World Cup favorites, the French national team. They ain't looking like the team from before. Let's go back to 2018. Look at their starting lineup. Consistency was what got them through. You have Olivier Giroud, not Karim Benzema, not the dream, but Olivier Giroud. And when you have a player like him, I felt he got so unfairly criticized throughout much of that tournament, throughout much of that qualifying campaign. The thing that makes him so good for this team, he makes other people better. You saw that at AC Milan this past season in Serie A, and you saw that with this French national team. Antoine Griezmann scoring 4 goals, silver ball award, or silver shoe and bronze ball. Kylian Mbappe, best young player, 4 goals apiece for those two. And your center forward is still getting criticized. Now enter Karim Benzema, and the whole dynamic has changed. It's lifted Karim Benzema to just superstar status +1, but it's kind of made the French national team suffer a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I take your point, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how France fare this time around against very similar opponents. I think that Denmark will definitely be more of a threat. But I agree with you. I think it is a worrying time for France, given that so many of the key elements under Deschamps previously, are just not the forces that they once were. I mean, I think as well, you have to look back on the team that was put together in 2018, and some of those players just were sort of filling a role that they weren't necessarily cut out for. I'm thinking of the likes of Benjamin Pavard at right back, not a right back, certainly not an elite right back. And I think that has been part of the struggle that Deschamps has had to rejig this team and make them more competitive ahead of the Euros, and then also coming into this World Cup as well. But I think as well, part of that crisis that Deschamps is going through is some of his key players just completely out of form now. Griezmann, unrecognizable, from the guy that was basically a Ballon d'Or contender at that point. And as well, despite the fact that they've managed to add a Benzema who's in career best form, it hasn't quite worked out yet for him, this return to the French national team. I think Kylian Mbappe as well, he's come on leaps and bounds from 2018. We can't ignore that. But also at the same time, with that development has come sort of a self-awareness and almost an ego, on his side, which threatened to derail the team back in Euro 2020. So I think that there's been a lot that Didier Deschamps has had to contend with, not least the speculation over his future as well, with Zinedine Zidane constantly being linked with Les Bleus. So, there is a fair amount of pressure on France coming into this. And I think the final matches in the build-up to this World Cup will be absolutely key for France, because they don't want to be going into, what is a tricky group, with so much sort of negativity surrounding them. Because part of this French team's ability to succeed under Deschamps in the last few years has actually come from the positivity. France managed to turn a very negative situation into something very positive, where they got the country back on their side, behind them. And then if they suddenly come into this one with people sort of, taking pot shots at them, it's not really conducive to a potential title defense.
All right. Well, listen, I have 2 issues with France. They were in my top 4 power rankings. It's slowly disappearing. However, it is November that we have to wait for, so a lot can change. But there are always 2 issues with me with France. One of them is I feel sometimes France is very reactive under Didier Deschamps. They're not proactive. They rely a lot on their individual talent. The second part as well is they're going through a transition through their sort of vertebrae, right? You got Jules Koundé. We've seen a lot of Tchouaméni, and the greatest midfielder is going to live next season in Bouba Kamara, and of course, leading up behind to Karim Benzema. So I do worry about those 2 things. About maybe it's an advantage, the fact that it's in November, because the likes of Tchouaméni, some minutes with Real Madrid, and others, Jules Koundé, we'll see where he ends up next season as well. Maybe that will help. But they are going through this transition. Michael, I know you have a final point on France before we move on.
Yeah, I look at, you talk about the vertebrae of the team. Look at some of the distractions some of these players are going through. What, Kylian Mbappe? He's new. He's a new prime minister of France, who happens to play football. It seems like, because he's got all the power. That's always I got the power. He's got all the power.
So he turns up at an LAFC match and suddenly he's like French, like royalty, like going overseas.
Are you kidding me? He's in the States. Hey, come to Austin. Come to Austin. I'll show you around, Kylian. All will be forgiven. Then you have Paul Pogba dishing out documentaries. And he's finally got a team now in Juventus. Paul Pogba, the carousel king, going to his former clubs not once but twice. And Samuel and TT not there. I think they've gotten an upgrade in Kimpembe, but Raphael Varane out of form with Manchester United, which pains me to say that, but it's the truth. I mean, that is a big deal when you're the defending world champions. Yes, they did get an upgrade up top, but what are they going to do with Griezmann? I think it's going to come down to, is Didier Deschamps going to play the players that are in form, or is he going to go with loyalty? Because I've seen him try to force loyalty with a Griezmann, forcing a 3-5-2 system. And is it going to be 3-5-2? Is it going to be 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1?
My point about why they're so reactive.
Yeah,
continue. Yeah,
you will know what just the DNA of this team is based on what formation they play. Because if they play this 3-5-2, that's because he's trying to force all the best individuals on the field and not the best chemistry of individuals to become a team.
Well, another major absence as well in this French team is N'Golo Kanté. Kanté has playing increasingly less and less matches, not only for France, but also for Chelsea as well. And I think coming to terms with him not being in his best form anymore is difficult for both club and country. And it's something that may well not be cleared up in time for the World Cup.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, before we move on into the other nations, just to let you know that the soccer calendar knows no breaks. So it's always all systems go here on Qué Golazo. Staying on top of the global game is an all-day gig. Then there's the added stress of being a helplessly loyal fan who obsesses over every minor detail concerning my club. And throw in on top of that the studio lights, the public speaking, the breaking news. It's a recipe for perspiration. But not for yours truly. Fortunately for me, sweat and bad odors are two things I never have to worry about, thanks to the long-lasting power of Gillette Clear Gel Antiperspirant. I can get on with my day, which mainly involves staying on top of the latest Aston Villa news and telling myself it's strictly for work purposes without breaking a sweat. Gillette Clear Gel Antiperspirant goes on with an anti-white mark formula and protects your nostrils from those nasty under armpit smells while giving you 72-hour sweat protection. If you want all-day freshness, the choice is clear. Gillette Clear Gel Antiperspirant is a tap-in. Get your Gillette Clear Gel Antiperspirant at a store near you.